Hi sculpture class, welcome to another video. I guess by now you should have received my package already, which contain all the material that you will need for this project. But for other additional things like sandpaper and sponge, you may need to procure those for yourself. I try my best, but those are all the stuff that you can get from now. But the other than that, you may have to get it for yourself. So this one is going to be about making your armature for the sculpture. Armature acts like skeleton for the sculpture. You may have seen people using a skeleton looking like one or a simple wire look like as the one we are going to use and work for on today. For the start, it is best to resize and make sure that your dimension of the sculpture design is roughly right, because the armature is not everything, and of course you will need to put clay on top of that. So roughly right is what we need on paper. In case you work digitally, please print it out. In case of a paper and hand draw design, please check your dimension before you start working on it. If it's not according to the size that you need, scan it in or take a photo, send it into your computer, resize it, and I think that should work, and print it out of course. And step 2 is draw in your armature or so-called a skeleton of your sculpture. Remember, we kind of look like this without the muscle and skin, so your sculpture should be like one too. So after you're done with the plan, cut out the aluminum wire in the approximate length or a little longer than what it should be and shape it into according to your plan. This process has to be quite creative in each and every one of your design. The armature will look different and will be different. Using the thick wire or thin wire is totally up to you. I do provide both of them because I think each one of you will need a different one. And yes, it is total up to your judgment whether or not to use the thicker one or to use the thinner one. Binding the wire together can be quite tricky, so you can coil them together and bind it naturally, or if it gets too complicated, you can use glue. I think hot glue gun would be the best option for this because it dries instantly and kind of keep things together, but you can try different things for yourself. And yes, masking tape helps too, because that is the method that I like to use sometimes. And yes, what I usually do is bind them together naturally and secure it with a masking tape, which still give me some room to adjust it at the end. So before I finalize it, I bind them together, wrap it up, and I can still adjust it. So, and here is the additional part of the demo itself. I usually like to secure my armature with epoxy sculpt or epoxy clay or epoxy putty. That is what is said on the package. So in that reason is because it will strengthen the whole structure, especially the joints or some place where the wire kind of overlap each other and may not feel quite strong yet. So securing that with epoxy sculpt will help give the strength to the whole structure, and also I think that solidarity feeling that you will get from it being solid there and covering up the joint. I think when you start working on your sculpture or start sculpting on the armature itself, you will feel that sense of security, and so we will work better that way when we feel like this is so strong and my sculpture will not collapse. I think it's better that way, so you can try that out too. The armature is best if you can attach it onto the board as something that is flat, but in this case I did it off base because for the better view of this demo, but by all means you can do this too. It doesn't have to be attached to the board, and most of the design, or if you have seen those art toy before, if they are hand sculpt, most of them are not attached to the board anyway. It depends on the method of those artists who decided to do it or not, so you can do it too. But if you want something that is strong and make sure that your sculpture will stand and will not collapse during any time of your working time, please attach it to the board because it will be stronger that way. And also it will be transportable in the sense that you will not just leave it on the table and it will just lay down on its own and your sculpt will be destroyed by its own weight. That is not what we want to happen. Armature helps in a lot of aspects in sculpture. It gives strength, provides structure for sculpting material to hold on to, and in some cases reduce the weight and the use of sculpting material, which can be really serious matter when it comes to those big sculpture, in case if you are going to make it someday, because the weight could be really serious. And also if you waste a lot of sculpting materials onto your sculpture, that means a lot of expense need to go into the material that you don't even get to see because it's inside. So even though our sculpture right now is so small comparing to those who will use a lot of materials, it doesn't hurt to be a good practitioner and try something new. It is a good practice, and so it's a good challenge too.